Hi, this video is for parents who have kids in the new Paltz District who are remote learning, and actually parents anywhere have kids in remote learning. The idea is to teach you how to set up parental controls if you don't have them set up already. If you're using the district's computers, the Chromebooks, then you don't need to worry about this. All of that's set up for you. But if you're using your own device or a kid's device, you may want to go through and make sure you have your parental controls set up correctly. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that on a Mac and a PC. Parental controls on a Mac. You're first going to want to go up to the Apple menu and choose System Preferences. Okay, you'll get a bunch of options here, and you'll want to go down to Users and Groups. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new account for kids. Okay, in order to do anything here, I need to click on this little padlock icon and enter my password. Okay, so now that I've clicked on that, I can edit all of this, and I'm going to create just a sample account for the purposes of this video, and I'm just going to call it Kids. You can call yours whatever you want. So I'm going to call it Kids, and the account name can be the same as the full name, and I'm going to enter a password, and you're going to put your hint here in case you forget the password or the kids forget the password. Okay, and then I'm going to click on Create User. Okay, when I do that, you'll see that there's a new account here on the left-hand side called Kids. And the one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is you're going to want to click on this Enable Parental Controls checkbox. Okay, so that's going to give you a lot of different options that allow you to, for example, block specific content or limit time on the computer, things like that. So if I click on Open Parental Controls button, I get another set of options, and I need to enter my password again in order to edit them. So here you can limit specific apps. Like if you want, say if you want kids to be able to access the camera for Google Classroom, you can do that here. By default, that's turned on. If there are other apps that you want to allow, you would add them down here. The thing that you're really going to want to keep and take a look at, though, is under Web. So you can block specific websites if you want. By default, it's set to try to limit access to adult websites, and that's usually what I leave it on. If you want to add to that, you can. So you can click on Customize, and say, for example, you don't want your kids to be on Facebook. You can add that here. So you can say facebook.com. So when they're logged in under this account, they will be blocked from using facebook.com. Okay. And again, that's under this Customize button that appears for the second option, try to limit access to adult websites. You can also choose this one, allow access to only these websites. It's called whitelisting, but that really limits kids. They'd only be able to access these websites and whatever other specific websites you add using this plus button. But I usually leave it on the second one. Okay. Under stores, you can limit access to the iTunes store. You can restrict movies, music, videos to certain ratings. And the time option is probably pretty interesting to some people because you can limit access on the computer. So if you want to limit it to weekdays only or weekends only, you can do that. You can make sure that they log off at certain times of the day, so they're not on it late at night. And then under privacy, if you click on Manage Privacy, that'll bring up another set of options. Okay, so under Privacy, there's something called Enable Location Services. And again, if I want to edit any of this stuff, I can click on this padlock icon and I can type in my password. So location services just mean that the computer knows where you are. It knows that you're in New Paltz, or it knows that you're at home or at school. But you can have it block that information from things like maps or your calendar or weather, things like that. So by default, all of that's turned on. But if for some reason you're uncomfortable with that and you want to turn that off, you can disable all of it by clicking on this, and that will turn off location services for everything. But here it's just telling me that if you lose your Mac, you won't be able to use Find My Mac to find it again. So generally you don't want to turn it off entirely, but you may want to turn it off for specific apps if you're uncomfortable having them know where you are. So so that's location services. And the one other bit I wanted to show you here is advertising, all the way down at the bottom here under security and privacy. I've got this turned on. If you want to turn it on, you can. It will try to limit certain types of ads. So sometimes if you search for shoes on Google, all of a sudden you'll see ads for shoes everywhere, on Facebook, on Amazon, etc. This will try to limit that sort of thing. So if you don't like that kind of thing, you can check this box and it will try to limit that. It doesn't always work 100% of the time, but it definitely helps. So hopefully that helps with parental controls for the Mac. Next up is Windows. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or add a comment down at the bottom. Thanks. Parental controls on Windows computer. It's a little bit more involved on Windows than it is on Mac. So in order to do this, first thing you want to do is just go to the search bar and type in privacy, and you'll see privacy settings come up. So I'm going to click on that under system settings. So this is privacy settings. So one thing I wanted to point out here is this first option. If you don't really like being tracked for advertising, like if you search for shoes on Amazon and then all of a sudden you start seeing ads for shoes everywhere, like on Facebook, you can turn that off here under privacy options. It'll do its best to turn that off for you. You may still see ads somewhere, but that will get rid of most of that. The other thing that you'll want to take a look at is something called the family options. Okay, so with family options, you can set up accounts for each of your family members. So your kids don't need to log in under your account; they can log in under their own accounts. The only downside to this is that your kids need an email address, so just keep that in mind. Now, in order to do this, it's all done on the web. So if you click on View Family Settings, what happens is it'll open up your web browser, and it will open up your family safety website. Okay, so I'm already logged in here, but the first time you do it, you'll have to create an account, and then it will give you options to add family members. I've added a family member here, just a sample kid here, and I can add more if I click on Add Family Member. But just keep in mind when you do it, you're going to have an email account for each of the kids. So this is very similar to what the Mac has. You can see the activity of your kids, you can see screen time, but if you have other Microsoft devices, you can do other things, like you can limit things like time on an Xbox. So if you wanted to schedule a certain time that kids could play or a certain amount of hours that kids can play, you can do all of that here. So you can turn that on and off, and you can also do that for the Windows computer, which is the computer that I'm working on right now. So just a heads up that you can adjust screen time just as you can on a Mac. Again, you can go through and limit specific apps and games as well. The thing you'll probably be most interested in is the content restrictions, and this really will allow you to block inappropriate content. So by default, this is set right here, block inappropriate websites. So adult content will be blocked. You can also block additional websites. So like if you don't want your kids on Facebook, you can just type in facebook.com here and hit plus, and then they won't be able to access that website. Regardless of what browser they're using, as long as they're on this computer logged in into their account, they'll be blocked. The other thing that you'll want to do, which is kind of funny, Microsoft blocks all other web browsers by default. So if you're using Chrome on your Windows machine, you'll want to take off this this block for Chrome and any other browser. So if you're using Firefox as well, you want to remove that block as well. So you can block specific applications, and by default, Microsoft appears to block all other browsers. So if you are using currency too and spending, you can do that here. You can even do this Find Your Child, which will show you where the laptop is currently logged in. So so hopefully this is helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the comments below or email me directly. I'd be happy to help you out if you run into any issues. Thanks.